Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming and joining us for this special presentation of Christmas at Windsor Castle with the Queen Six. Before we get started, I just wanted to go over some technical considerations. The first being that there will be a Q&A for this presentation. All questions should be entered into the chat or the Q&A module that you will find at the bottom of your screens. Additionally, I also want to give special recognition to the branches who registered the most people for this event. That is the Central Florida, Atlanta, and Greenwich branch. So congratulations and thank you. And now I'm going to introduce the ESU Executive Director, Karen Karpovich. Karen?
Hi. Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas. I hope you're all having a wonderful holiday. And it's great to be back here again with you and the Queen Six. I think the last time we were together was in June, when we had the honor of them joining us for our Queen's birthday party. Thank you, Simon, for coming back. It's good to see you again. It seems like a lot has happened, but we're still in the same boat we were in before. So we'll just, hopefully now we're in a situation where we see some light at the end of the tunnel. So maybe the next time we get together, we might be able to actually do it in person. But I just want to thank them again for joining us at Christmas. And I know this is probably a very special time of the year for them. So much so that I think this is their first virtual concert that they're going to be doing on December the 18th from Windsor. And we've been showing you the information and we'll continue to show you the information on that. I know it's 7:30 Greenwich Mean Time, but it will be recorded, so we'll all be able to get to see it. We hope you all register. Just some general facts about the Queen Six. First of all, I didn't realize that they're named after Elizabeth I. And it's easy to think that they're named after Elizabeth II, but no, they have been named, the Queen is Queen Elizabeth I. Which was quite lovely. And it's out of the St. George, they are out of the St. George Chapel at Windsor. And they are 6 of 12 lay clerks who are affiliated with St. George, which is why they've been recently active in the recent marriage of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and everything else. So if you are in Windsor, hopefully soon we'll be able to go back. We hope that you might be able to see them there when you're there. Simon, I think Simon Wheatley we've met before, and that is the head of the group. And others include Andrew, who I think we have here today, Andrew, and Nick and Dom and Dan, but we have Tom, who I assume is the newest member. Is that correct? Okay. Welcome, Tom. Thanks for joining us. And as I said, they performed in the United States. In fact, in October of 2019, right before the pandemic, they were in the United States and were actually sponsored by Karen Blair Brand, the president of our Central Pennsylvania branch, and did a tour of Pennsylvania. They are usually in the country in better times in October and April. And we hope to see them more after this year, hopefully. They'll be back again in October and April. If you're interested in having them perform locally for you, you can contact Karen Blair Brand, who's in contact with them in their schedule. In the meantime, I just want to thank everyone for being here today. We had an incredible turnout. I think we have over 200 people on the actual Zoom call or the web conference that we're doing today. So please enjoy yourself. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. a safe holiday, and that we'll just look forward to the future and better times. And we'll ask Simon and the Queen Six to help us, launch the next year. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's so great to be here and to see you all, to see so many people here. It's really fantastic. And yeah, thank you so much for having us. So I just thought I would start with just a little bit more of an explanation of what we do with our lives in Windsor, and then I'll get on to some of the sort of the traditions that we have in Windsor for Christmas, especially. So as Karen said, the six of us form half of the Lay Clerks in St George's Chapel. Now that's a slightly strange term, lay clerk. It's a lot of the time people don't really know who we are or what we do. What that means is that we are the 12 adult professional singers in the St George's Chapel Choir. So the St George's Chapel Choir is made up of 12 adult singers, the lay clerks, and then a bunch of small boy choristers, maybe 15 or 20, who sing the top line, the treble line in the music, and the 12 of us sing the underneath parts, the harmony parts. And so the six of us got together, six of the lay clerks got together back in 2008, which was the 450th anniversary of the accession to the throne of Elizabeth I. And we decided we wanted to sing not just the music, the church music that we sing at the regular services in St George's Chapel, but also some of the lighter side of music. Anyone who may have seen us when we toured around Pennsylvania with Karen last year will have heard we sing folk songs, we sing jazz arrangements, we sing pop arrangements, we sing all sorts of different kinds of music, pretty much anything, as long as it's good music and we can have a bit of fun with it as well. So yeah, so that's kind of who we are and what we do. Also, as Karen said, we would usually be in the US twice a year, once in April and once in October, sometimes for up to about 2 weeks at a time. And those tours are made up of concerts booked for us by our agent in North America, Lisa Sappenkopf. And we travel all around the country. We've been touring to the States for, I think, 2 years now, nearly 2 years. And we've been as far and wide as New York. We've been to Philadelphia. We've been to Florida. We've been to California. We've been to all sorts of weird and wonderful places that we never thought we'd get to. And I have to say, through this whole pandemic, the thing I miss the most, I think the very top of my list, is getting to tour to America. And I think I speak for the rest of the group when we say we really, really do miss it. So as and when things go back to normal, if you would like to book us for a concert, then please do get in touch with Karen Blair Brand, who can hopefully hook us up. That would be fantastic. Yeah, of course, we'd absolutely love to return to Pennsylvania as well. We had such a wonderful time traveling around that beautiful, beautiful state. So yeah, just fingers crossed we can get back to it as soon as we possibly can. Moving on to a little bit about the kind of things that go on around Windsor Castle at Christmas time. So obviously the focal point of our lives at Christmas here in the castle are the services that we sing, and it's a very important thing for a large number of members of the community. The main service for Christmas that we perform is called a service of 9 lessons and carols. Now, many of you who are regular worshippers at churches and cathedrals in the US may well have come across a similar service, but for those of you who haven't, I'll just explain a little bit about what happens. So as the title suggests, there are 9 lessons, and lessons, that means readings from the Bible, starting with the fall of Adam, usually, perhaps a passage from Genesis, or perhaps a passage from the New Testament which references the story of Adam and Eve. And then the stories work through the Christmas story, sort of from there right up until the birth of Jesus, and all the regular sort of religious tropes around the birth of Jesus. And also in that service, there are a large number of Christmas carols. Usually, in normal years, that would be a mixture of carols sung by the chapel choir and carols sung by the chapel choir and with the congregation, with everyone in attendance. And we can get, in previous years, we have had up to nearly 1,200 people in that chapel at these services, which is quite amazing, because that's filling the chapel to bursting point. But it really is a very special occasion. Often we'll process around the building, and we'll sing from different parts of the building. We will hold candles. It's a very atmospheric and beautiful affair. Sadly, this year, of course, we will not be able to have any of the congregational carols, so it will just be the choir. It'll be slightly more pared down, pared back. Unfortunately, usually those services are open to members of the public, but this year it's only for members of the castle community. So we're a bit sad about that, but obviously we hope that we'll get back to normal as soon as possible. Yeah, we also, other services, of course, include midnight mass on Christmas Eve, sort of bringing in Christmas Day. That's always fun. You know, we've usually had an eggnog or two before that service, so it's maybe a little bit more fun. A few more fun and games than usual, although obviously we take it very seriously because it's a church service. Also around the castle at this time of year, on the outside of the castle, I think there's a picture of this perhaps going to pop up on Josh's screen, which I think is below me for everyone. On one part of the castle, on part of the outside of the castle wall, the stone castle wall, they have illuminations of various pictures. It might be a part of the inside of the chapel. It might be the organ pipes, for example. We have very beautiful organ pipes in the chapel. But yeah, all sorts of things. It's a really rather wonderful thing to see, sort of walking down the street, and in a huge kind of image projected onto the side of the castle, we see parts of where we work and where we live. So that's rather special as well. I think I've probably spoken for long enough for now, so I'm going to pass you over to one of the dads in the group, and that's Andrew Thompson. And he obviously, sorry, not obviously. So within our community, amongst the 12 lay clerks and their families, we all live here with our families. There's something like sort of 20 children between the 12 of us, maybe even more than that. So it's, you know, sometimes it becomes a little bit like a creche, which is wonderful. It's an absolutely wonderful place for kids to get to grow up. And of course, what more special time of the year is there for children than Christmas? So I'm going to pass over to Andrew now, who's going to talk to you a little bit about what it's like having children in the castle at Christmas.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew. We've recently had a change of personnel, as already discussed. Tom has taken over from Tim. And I realised the other day that I'm now the oldest member of the group. I am 39, so haven't quite hit that milestone yet. But yes, I have children, which makes me feel even older. Actually, it's one of the questions that we, when we're meeting people and we're trying to describe what the job of lay clerk is, we sort of describe we have to do 8 services a week and all this sort of stuff. And we live in, and then I mention my family, and quite often people are quite confused, and they say, "Oh, do you live with your family?" I'm not quite sure how that would work logistically if I didn't, but yeah, they provide us with some lovely houses. I think we might have seen the Horseshoe Cloister flick past once, and I mean, it is quite monastic. I mean, we live in a cloisters, and we live cheek by jowl, which has its challenges, had its challenges during lockdown. We were all at home all of the time. Actually, we did have a bit of a rota going for use of the shared lawn space. We're approaching Christmas. It's a slightly strange one. I don't think there's been quite so many fun activities for the kids this year, but it doesn't seem to have blunted their appetite at all. I'm sorry if I repeat what Simon said. I was listening very closely. A few of the activities we do with the kids at Christmas, we have carol singing around the environs of the castle, which is really nice. Which they make us. It's usually over 2 days, and it's for all members of the community, not just singers. it culminates in singing to the Queen and Prince Philip, which everybody's very excited to do, and we sing to them on their front porch, and then butlers swoop in, providing mulled wine and such. But before you do that, in the time building up to it, you have to go around everywhere else, including things like singing to the cows in the royal farm, which is a really weird experience, but very nice anyway. It's a lovely environment for the kids to grow up in, as Simon said. During lockdown, it was very unusual because normally we are swarmed with tourists, and particularly after the royal wedding. Everybody wanted to see the steps where Meghan and Harry walked out, which is pretty much exactly where we live. So that was a challenge. But actually, I think I could probably, I've always felt that to live in a place where people want to visit is an absolute privilege. Oh, by the way, that's my wife just there with my daughter and Father Christmas, or Santa. Oh, he's got it again. And this here is the royal, I don't know what you call it. I think it's the royal stable. And they have a big reindeer parade that goes right through town. But for members of the castle community, they bring the reindeer into the royal stable to pet them. And then they bring royal horses and ponies for pony rides as well. It's a really special Christmas event for the kids. They love it every year. But yeah, what was I saying about living in a tourist attraction? It's lovely, but actually during lockdown, of course, the place was empty. So we did literally run riot, really. Actually, the kids just enjoyed the sun. It was amazing. We have behind the castle, we have a place called the Home Park Private, which is basically the Queen's back garden, and it includes a golf course, which I know Tom gets a lot of use of. And also it has allotments. I'm not sure you know whether you know what allotments are. Do you have that word? They're like community gardens. So basically it's somewhere to grow food. So that kept us occupied during lockdown, which was really nice. Hopefully this year we will be also singing. The little children of the cloister will be singing in the chapel. They do that once a year. They're not the same as the boy choristers that come from the school, who are amazingly well-trained singers, but it's a very cute affair nonetheless. Yeah, so hopefully our kids will look back fondly on their time growing up in the castle. I don't think they quite appreciate it at the moment. Anyway, I will wrap that up there. Simon, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. Thanks, Andrew. I thought, having spoken a little bit about the service of 9 lessons and carols earlier, and obviously the differences that have to happen this year due to the pandemic, it's been really wonderful for us as a group, as the Queen Six, I mean, to have the opportunity to record and put on an online Christmas concert. It's not quite along the same lines as a service of 9 lessons and carols, but we have been incredibly lucky that the Dean and Canons, the senior clergymen here in Windsor, have allowed us to perform and record that concert in St George's Chapel. It really is an incredible place, and they're quite rightly very protective of who gets to record anything in there, who gets to film, who gets to take photos, any of that. So we really are incredibly privileged and lucky that they've allowed us to do that. The concert itself, so the initial broadcast, as I think Karen mentioned at the beginning, will be on Friday, this Friday, the 18th of December. And I think Eastern Standard Time in the US, that will be at 2:30 p.m. The concert will be available online for 2 weeks after that. So for anyone who buys a ticket, they will be able to view the concert for those full 2 weeks, and people can continue to buy tickets for those 2 weeks as well. One of the other main things to say about this concert, and again, it's an enormous honour and privilege to say that we've got some very, very special guest readers. So often as part of carol services and carol concerts, you will have separate readers, sometimes people who are quite famous. We are very, very lucky in his capacity as the patron of the Windsor Festival, with whom we are performing in partnership, that His Royal Highness Prince Edward, the Earl of Wessex, has recorded a short reading and greeting for us. So we're very, very excited to share that with you all. I'm not sure if in the States or how widely this television show proliferated, but anyone who's familiar with the work of Agatha Christie will also be familiar with her most famous detective, Hercule Poirot. And there was quite a long-running television series of Agatha Christie's Poirot in the UK in I think the late 80s and the 1990s, starring an actor, quite a famous actor in the UK called David Suchet. And I happen to be friends. In fact, my brother is best friends with Sir David's godson. And Sir David's godson put me in touch with him. And we're very, very lucky to say that Sir David Suchet will also be doing a reading. To lead us on to our final reader, our final reader is Joan Lilburn, who is the mum of our newest member, Tom. So I'm going to pass you over to Tom just to talk a little bit about what he's most looking forward to, having just joined the group, and maybe a little bit about himself, a little bit about his mum and her reading. Thanks, Tom.
Good evening, everyone. To start off, we should probably mention that the reason my mum was chosen was to represent the NHS, the National Health Service. It wasn't just, oh, here's the newest member, let's give his mum a reading. We've all been very grateful in this country for the NHS, the National Health Service, over this pandemic, and we thought it'd be nice to have a tribute to them within the concert. So yeah, I'm the newest member of the Queen Six. I've been at Windsor for just over 4 years now, and I've been in the Queen Six just for a couple of months. It's been an incredibly surreal time to start a new musical venture. Obviously, with all the restrictions and everything, it's been difficult to rehearse. We've had rehearsals had to have lots of space in the rehearsals, plenty of distancing between us, windows open, so we've been wrapped up in jumpers and scarves and whatnot. But ultimately, it's been very enjoyable. I think the biggest difference I've noticed about the Queen Six compared to a lot of other groups, so I've worked in freelance music for 4 or 5 years now, is the amount of individual input we each get to have in the Queen Six. We're very much a sort of 6-man unit with 6 people with equal say. In a choir rehearsal at the chapel, say you sing through a piece, and then at the end the conductor says, this is what I thought of it, that needs to change, that needs to change, this is how we're doing it, and you do what you're told. And likewise, singing with a variety of different freelance choirs, or even if you're doing a concert where you're doing solos with a choral society or something, it's very much in the conductor's hands. He or she will say, this is how I want it, and that's how you're going to do it. The Queen Six is very different in this regard. There is no conductor and there is no lead man, so it's quite refreshing to sing through pieces in rehearsal, and then at the end of it you sort of look around and has anyone got any thoughts? How could this be better? And it's a different process, and it's ultimately a very rewarding one, and it's very nice to feel that when you sing something through, you can hear something in it, or you can think, well, I didn't like that corner, I didn't like the way that bit felt for me, and kind of discuss it rather than simply be told at the end, you need to do that, that was too loud, that was flat, whatever it is. It's also a surreal way to do a first concert. Ultimately, this is my first concert as a full member of the group, and usually you obviously do it in front of an audience, and particularly a lot of the jazz numbers, a lot of the close harmony stuff, it's great fun to be able to interact with an audience. I have done a couple of bits with Queen Six before over the past few years when one of the countertenors has been ill, and so I've had the chance to experience that, and I'd say a particular highlight of that style of singing is really being able to engage with the audience fully and smile at them and pull faces at them, and they'll react to you, and they might laugh, they might gasp, but whatever it is, that level of audience interaction is something which you often don't get with choral singing. You kind of present, okay, beautiful music, and they all listen along solemnly a lot of the time, whereas with this stuff it's different. So it is a shame that my first concert won't be able to be in person like that. I just hope I felt we tried our very best to put across what we were thinking to the camera, to those at home, and I hope it comes across well. It's, I suppose, the one benefit of having no people in it and recording is that if anything went wrong, we had the capacity to say, well, we'll run that again. So that was a nice little fallback. But so far, my experience with the group is we've had probably 3 or 4 rehearsals and the one filming session. Sadly, a trip we were planning to do this December has been cancelled. But yeah, it's a very different experience for me, but it really is one that I'm enjoying very much at the moment, and I'm really looking forward to the challenges coming up with the group and being able to see more of the States. I've been to the States a couple of times, but not to a lot of the places Simon mentioned before. And it'll certainly be wonderful to explore the States more. I've loved every trip I've done there. And so yeah, it's been all positive for me so far, and I'm really looking forward to doing a lot more with the group. And yeah, do feel free to ask me any questions you want to in the Q&A about how I'm finding it, because I'm probably the least jaded of the group and able to answer most honestly.
That sounds about right, yeah. So Josh, we've had a few people saying that they can't see the pictures, or they haven't seen the pictures that we've been talking about. Do you think you might just put them on the screen by themselves, and we could talk through exactly what the pictures are of? Might that be possible? There we go. So hopefully everyone can see these pictures now. That's great. So that picture there is the Horseshoe Cloister. That's where we live, with some rather lovely snow. I think that'll be inside the state apartments in the castle. So that's part of the, yes, it did. In fact, I recognized that mirror there, the silver mirror. That is in an area of the state apartments called St. George's Hall, which is a very large ceremonial hall. The very first time I met the Queen was in that room. They have the rather wonderful Christmas decorations there. Oh yeah, I think that's somewhere just by the state entrance. So the state entrance is where Her Majesty the Queen receives foreign dignitaries. So your president, for example, any trips with the president, and I think the president of France we saw once when it was Nicolas Sarkozy, I think. And coming up now. Yeah, I think that's just one of the big ceremonial rooms where they have probably dinner functions with the royal family. Yeah, that's St. George's Hall again. In fact, probably about where the photographer is standing in that photo is where I first met the Queen. So that's happy memories.
This that hall, St. George's Hall, burnt down. Was terribly damaged, wasn't it? In a fire. When was it? 1990.
92 was
92. Yeah. And apparently Prince Philip had a big role in re-engineering this, and the whole ceiling is green oak. Yeah. It's a beautiful light space. Sorry, yeah. Carry on.
No, not at all. So there she is, the boss, kind of. Yeah. So I think that's a publicity shot of Her Majesty the Queen around the time that she gives her Christmas message.
That's my boss.
Yeah, that's Andrew's boss. That's Andrew's wife Jess and their daughter Josie, with I think that's probably Father Christmas, I guess. Yeah, so that's a picture of the reindeer parade in the royal stables that Andrew was talking about earlier. And you see the flag up above the reindeer. That's the royal standard. So that's the flag that flies on the flagpole in the castle when Her Majesty the Queen is in residence, as she is at the moment. And I think that's Dom's Christmas tree and some Christmas presents from a few years back. Oh yes, so this is two of the group's children. So on the left in the photo is Edward, who is Dom's eldest boy, and on the right, so Tim Carston, who just left the group. On the right, that's his little daughter Ivy, and they're the same age, and so they're really good chums. And I think there they are at Windsor on ice. So yes, they put on some ice skating down in the town, and that sort of stuff that the kids especially love. And Andrew Thompson, actually, something that you might not know about Andrew Thompson is he used to be a semi-professional ice skater, Andrew John Thompson. And moving on, yes, so that's more pictures of the reindeer, which is it's a lovely tradition for the kids. And there's Edward and Ivy again enjoying the arcade games. There's Edward dressed as a little elf. Lots of Edwards going on. I'm sure he'll be very pleased to hear. And there they are. That's Dom with his family decorating their tree at Christmas time, which is very sweet. So that's a part of the castle just next to the Horseshoe Cloisters where we live, called the Parade Ground, and it's also the guard room. So there are always basically soldiers within the castle, and they're often on parade. And when they parade, it's on that stretch there, which is covered in snow. And that's another picture of the Horseshoe Cloister. So this is where we live. We're incredibly lucky. In the background there, that's that big sort of lighter coloured stone building. That's called the Curfew Tower. That's a big bell tower. And I think the foundations of that tower are one of the oldest parts of the castle, dating back to around, I think, the 1100s, maybe even a little bit earlier. Oh yeah, and that's a poster for our concert, which I think we probably talked about that enough. Yes, and that's the west front of St George's Chapel. Those are the steps that Andrew mentioned earlier that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle walked down after their wedding ceremony. And I think we're back at the beginning now. That's great, brilliant. So I think perhaps, Josh, is now the time to play a video or two of our Christmas music.
Yes, let me go ahead and get that started.
Great, thanks.
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight. Walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away, here's the bluebird. In the sleigh, here's the new bird. He sings a love song as we go along. Unafraid, the plans are buried, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he's a circus clown. What's a red nose until the other singers knock him down. When it snows, ain't it pretty? Do you notice it's a chilly? Face unafraid, the buds are budding, walking in a winter wonderland. Ain't it thrilling? Through your nose gets a chilling. To face unafraid, the buds are budding, walking in a winter, walking in a winter, walking in a winter.
Great, thanks for that, Josh. That's brilliant. So I think if it's okay, should we go?
Someone special. counted me. Do you recognize me? Well, it's been a year, it doesn't surprise me. Happy Christmas. I wrapped it up and sent it with a note saying I love you. I meant it. Now I know what a fool I've been. But if you kissed me now, I know you'll kiss me again. Last Christmas I gave you my heart, but the very next day you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special. Last Christmas I gave you my heart, but the very next day you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special. A crowded room, friends with tired eyes. I'm hiding from you and your soul of eyes. My daughter, don't you listen to my me? I guess I was a shoulder to cry on, a face on another with a fire in his heart, a man undercover, but you taught me of me. Now I found a real love and never threw me again. Last Christmas I gave you my heart, but the very next day you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I gave it to someone special. Last Christmas I gave you my heart, but the very next day you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I give it to someone special. Do, 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 do.
Okay, is that it now, Josh? Sorry,
Yes,
I can't
that's
remember how many. Sorry, I can't remember how many videos we said we were going to play. Apologies for that interruption. Right, so I think we're going to get to the Q&A section now. So we've already got a bunch of questions in the Q&A box. So I'll start, and then we might share some of the answers around. Do you get paid for being part of the choir? Yes, we do. So the main payment that we get for being for being lay clerks is that we get to live in these beautiful houses. And we get to live here rent-free with our families. They really are quite wonderful. And they're quite big and yeah, just lovely old houses. We get a small stipend as well on top of that, but the commitment of a lay clerk is such that we're able to do other jobs. So many of the lay clerks also do quite a lot of teaching, whether that's peripatetic music teaching or so Dan, who is a member of the Queen Six, Dan teaches English as a foreign language to many students. So yeah, so it's a funny sort of hodgepodge. We also, the other main work that we do is singing with other ensembles, other choirs, other groups who want to pay us to sing, basically. So it's quite a hodgepodge of all sorts of different things, making a living doing what we do. But it keeps it very nice and varied, and yeah, it's fantastic to get to live and work in a place like this. How does the general public get to be in the audience? So anyone can come to a service at St George's. in Windsor. All services are open to the public. It's not very widely publicised. I think they see it as some sort of a security issue, I would imagine. I'm not really sure. But it can be anywhere from, so we sing 8 services a week. We sing Evensong, which is an Anglican service, every day except Wednesdays. Wednesdays our day off. And then on Sunday mornings, we will sing a service of matins or morning prayer, and then a sung Eucharist as well, which is sort of the Anglican version of a mass. And so, yeah, so 8 services a week. And, on a wet, rainy, windy January evening, there might just be 1 or 2 people in the congregation. But on a Saturday or a Sunday in the middle of summer, there could be hundreds. And as I said before, in the case of 9 lessons and carols, thousands. So I'll pass over to Andrew for the next one. How do you choose the children that sing? So about the choristers. Oh, Andrew, you need to unmute yourself.
Hello, I am here. Yes, so choristers all go to the school, which is a private school, not a state school, but they some of them are recruited from within the school, but a lot of them are recruited from outside, and that's kind of the point traditionally of these choral foundations is before there was even a thing such as state education, the church would bring in children and give them an education and put them to work singing in a choir. It's probably the last bastion of child labour that there is, but I think they enjoy it. So I think it's probably about 7. I think they're probably about 7 or 8 when they come to have a taster day, a chorister for a day. And if they like it, and if the talent is spotted, then they get snapped up. And quite often they get their tuition, their school education for free as well. I didn't do it when I was little. I sang in my local church choir, very humble upbringing. Simon, on the other hand, was a chorister at York Minster in the north of England, which is an absolutely stunning cathedral. I was a student in York and got to sing in the Minster a lot of times, but and I think it does something to the brain. Dom, also in the group, who you heard singing last Christmas, he was a chorister actually at St George's. So he spent most of his life here, and they're very, very sharp musicians. And I think sort of developing that skill from a young age does create certain neural pathways that can't be recreated later on. I'm not sure. So it's a wonderful experience for them, and most of them enjoy it, I think. Hope that answers the question.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew. So, Tom, I think as you went through the process most recently, if you take the next one, what's the process of becoming a member of the Lay Clerks? How often are auditions? How many might audition?
So as to how many might audition, I think it varies a lot time to time. For me, I applied, and I believe there was a shortlist drawn up, and then there were 2 rounds to the process. So I turned up in the morning, and the first round consisted of singing to James Vivian, the director of music, and singing an aria to him, and then also doing a bit of sight reading, because sight reading is a key part of the test. Being able to read music quickly and efficiently is absolutely key for our job. We're very regularly presented with new music at short notice, and just as important as being able to make a nice sound is being able to read music well and adapt, being very flexible very quickly. So the first round consisted of singing to James and doing some sight reading. There was a second round, which I think when I was there were 5 people at the first round, and 2 of us went through the second round. I think numbers may vary time to time depending on application numbers. The second round consisted of singing 2 pieces to the Lay Clerks. There were several of the Lay Clerks were in, and then also singing I was given a piece of music to sing with 2 of the Lay Clerks. But I think Andrew was one of them from memory. And I think that that part of the audition is to see how you blend with those who are already there. Again, a huge part of our job is being adaptable, and there's no use making a nice sound if it's going to stick out or not work with what's next to you. So that there was that part of the process where I sang for the Lay Clerks and then sang a piece with two of the other Lay Clerks. And then finally, there is a sort of a short interview with chapter. I think the dean was there, the director of music was there. I believe Charlotte Manley was there. I can't remember her exact title. Simon might be able to clarify her exact title.
She's the chapter clerk.
The chapter clerk. She was there as well. And I think the aim of that interview is to check that you will sort of buy into the community spirit. There's quite a strong community spirit here. They're keen on the idea of it being a living community, something that's very much alive. And I think they want to check that you're going to buy into that spirit. It wasn't necessarily anything, they didn't check you believe anything religious or anything like that. It was just, kind of, this is how we operate here, and are you willing to buy into that kind of spirit? And then after that interview, I was offered the job and was delighted to accept it. It's a wonderful place to be. I hope that answers your question. If you've got any further questions about that, do shout out.
So I think one of the main parts of what Tom just said is that not only do you have to be a good singer and musician, you also have to be a nice person. Somehow the three of us slipped through that net, but we're here anyway. So next one, Alison Day. There's a fairly substantial community of a cappella groups at various American colleges and universities. Do you get a chance to tour and perform with any American groups? Has your own music and arrangements been influenced in any way by the international a cappella community? So yeah, so part of our touring does include, when we're in the States, going to colleges and universities. I think the last trip we did, we started in Texas. We were at Texas A&M, the Aggies, I think they're called, Texas A&M University, and we had some workshops with a number of their choirs. I seem to remember there were sort of 3 or 4 of the choirs. Also, when we were at Penn State, we did some workshops with a couple of their choirs as well, and it's brilliant. We love doing that sort of thing, the sort of educational side of singing and music, and sort of sharing what we know with people around the world. We really do love it. So if you know people who work at universities, work in music departments, do let them know about us, because we're very, very keen on that side of things. And yes, yeah, we've certainly been influenced by all sorts of other a cappella groups. I think that the group we get compared to most, as many of you will probably guess, are the King Singers. We are in fact quite good friends with the King Singers on an individual basis. In fact, I had a phone call with one of them just today. And I've got a phone call with another one of them tomorrow. So that's fun. And yeah, so our arrangements, we sometimes sing King Singers arrangements. Our arrangements are inspired by their style. But we also, we have quite wide-ranging musical influences. Groups like Take 6, for example, a fantastic American group. And we're also good friends with the guys in Duchess 8. We all sing with all sorts of groups, choirs like the Tallis Scholars and Tenebrae, if any of you have heard of them. So yeah, we take influences from all around. So next, one of the singers in the video sounds like a countertenor. Yes, we have 2 countertenors, and in fact, Tom is a countertenor. So a countertenor is someone who sings in their falsetto register, so up here like this, and many a cappella ensembles use countertenors instead of female voices on the top line. They can't sing as high as females some of the time, but they sound very beautiful nonetheless, I have to say. Do you have the full arrangements to look at during performances, or just the lyrics? Do we usually have music in front of us? Yes. So in the chapel at St George's, we will usually sing, in fact, we will always sing from copies of music. That's why, as Tom said before, it's very important that we're able to read music. Sometimes we might turn up for an evening service, and for whatever reason, the boys can't sing that service all of a sudden. And so it'll just be the lay clerk singing, and we'll need to be able to pick up a piece of music we've perhaps never seen before and just sing it. So in the chapel, we always have the music in front of us. And for many years with the Queen Six, we used to sing full concerts with the music in front of us as well. A couple of years ago, however, we decided that in order to enhance our performance, we would start memorizing all of the music that we sing. It's not something that would usually be necessary for choral singers, certainly not in this country. But it's something we decided we wanted to do. When you take away the music, there are all sorts of new and different things you can do. There's far more interaction with the audience that you can have, far more interaction with each other. Much more hand movements and gestures, and even more stuff in a dramatic perspective, should we choose. And we found that it's enhanced our performing no end, in fact, and we really love it. It's one of those things that's really very daunting when you first decide that you're going to memorize a full program of music, having not really done it before. But when you do it, you sort of decide you'll never go back, and I don't think we will ever go back. So yeah, it's such a joy. I miss it so much. I really do. Andrew, would you like to take the next one? How many years do you serve in your role? Is there a limit?
Okay, so in our role as lay clerks at St George's Chapel, there is no limit. We had a former colleague who tried to test whether that was true or not. I think he started in something like 1973, and he retired a couple of years ago in his 70s. An absolute living legend. Whenever he arrived, whenever we had sort of termly meetings with the priests, and whenever he arrived, he would bring this sort of big tome with him of various precedents that he could challenge anyone on, which was great. No, it's basically as long as your voice still works, and as long as you want to do it as well. As for the Queen Six, again, we had a recent retirement, but I think he was just he's looking at a bit of a career change, which I mean, it's been a funny old time, COVID. I think everybody's been sort of reassessing where their life is going. Fortunately, Tom reassessed his life towards us, which we're delighted about. So yeah, there's no real time limit as long as you can do the job, basically. Hope that's helpful.
So we've actually had two of the same question from two different people. Have you ever worked with the Whiffenpuffs at Yale? We haven't yet. We would love to. Absolutely. Of course, they're a very, very famous group. In fact, my wife was watching The West Wing just the other night, and I think there's an episode of The West Wing where the Whiffenpuffs sing a few songs. That was really fun. So no, we'd very much like to. So if anyone is in touch with the Whiffenpuffs or anyone at Yale University, do let us know. That'd be fantastic. And so the reasons that members leave the ensemble, you're all young men? Crikey. Who are you talking about? Well, Tom is, I suppose. Tom's about sort of 13 or something. So Tim, yeah, as Andrew just mentioned, Tim has decided to have a bit of a career change. Tim was a little bit older than the rest of us. He was sort of getting to his mid-40s. And the countertenor voice doesn't always necessarily last too far into your 50s. And I think Tim's also a trumpeter. He's been doing the freelance singing and trumpet playing for 25, maybe even nearly 30 years now. And he's just decided it's time to move on. And as Andrew said, with the pandemic, it's sort of the right time for him. One last question, since you mentioned other groups, what are your thoughts on Pentatonics? I think Pentatonics are fantastic. I love what they do. It's very different to what we do. It's a much more sort of produced sound. They use a lot more sort of effects, and they always sing into microphones, which isn't something that we often do. If we do have any miking, it tends to be ambient miking rather than handheld mics, though it is something we might look at in the future. So it's very different to what we do, but they're obviously a fantastic sort of example of what a cappella music can be. And if it spreads the word about a cappella music, then it's a fantastic thing. Okay, so I think we're coming to the end of proceedings now. So we're going to do just a tiny little bit of singing for you. We're going to sing Silent Night. We're going to sing one verse each. We'll take it in turn, so you get to hear each of our individual voices. And if you want to, as you're all muted, if you want to join in at home, then you're very welcome to do so. Of course, we won't be able to hear you, but please do join in if you would like. Silent night, holy night, round yon Virgin Mother and Child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace.
Silent night, holy night, shepherds quake at the sight, glory stream from heaven afar, heavenly hosts sing Alleluia. Christ the Savior is born. Christ the Savior is born. Silent night, holy night, Son of God, love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace. Jesus, Lord, at thy birth. Jesus, Lord, at thy
Great, thank you so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. And I think just as the very last thing, just to end with, I will just sing one verse of the national anthem for you. Ooh. God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen. God save the Queen. Send her victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the Queen. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a very, very Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Before we actually conclude, I wanted to quickly mention that we did have a raffle for today's program. And the gift for today's program is our Centennial Scarf and Pocket Square. So I want to congratulate Meredith Eubank rather, of the Albany branch, who won that. We'll receive that in the mail. I'd also, before we close, like to welcome back our executive director, Karen Karpovich, to kind of outro us. Karen, if you'll go ahead and start it up.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. That was lovely. It was very moving. It's the first time I've heard voices live like that on Zoom. We do a lot of talking, but not singing on Zoom, unfortunately. But I do want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and to better times. And as I said before, hopefully the next time we can be together in person. Okay. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.